Hi Aquarius, and welcome to your June 2024 horoscope. I hope you're ready for a more relaxed month. Honestly, May and April were kind of chaotic. We had eclipse season, we had Pluto going retrograde, we had the Jupiter and Uranus conjunction, and we also had Jupiter entering Gemini. So there was really a lot. And in contrast, in June, we have Mars entering Taurus, which should hopefully bring a little bit more of a gentleness behind our drive and our actions. And we also have, towards the second part of the month, the Sun and Venus entering Cancer, which should bring in a little bit more of this more emotional, introspective energy as well. So let's start off by talking about Jupiter. At the end of May, Jupiter entered the sign of Gemini. And its first aspect during its year-long voyage in Gemini happens on June 2nd, and it's a trine with Pluto. And honestly, I think this is such a beautiful first aspect that Jupiter is making. It's really bringing up this idea of the fact that often we are more afraid of our success. We're more afraid of our own power and our own purpose than we are of us failing to get there in the first place. It's also bringing up this idea that often, in order for us to get to where we want to go, to get more wonderful things in our life, to accomplish all of our dreams and wishes, that first we need to let things go, to make space for the new things. And for you specifically, Aquarius, the things that you're letting go of, the things that you are fearing, are surrounding your own personal power, your own leadership, your own fear of being seen, being heard, standing out from a crowd. And I know that sometimes as an Aquarius, you can feel a bit more comfortable sort of in the shadows, making an impact, but not necessarily being upfront and center about it. So this trine with Pluto is really about the understanding that we will get our Jupiterian opportunities and benefits for the next year if we first address the things that Pluto is asking us to address. And if you want to get a little bit more into what these Jupiterian benefits are, I did a whole live about Jupiter and Gemini and what all of the 12 zodiac signs can expect. I'll leave it right here for you so that you can watch it. So next, let's move to Venus. She is quite busy this month. She is traveling so fast. She just whizzes past Gemini and honestly also through Cancer through the month of June. And because of that, you will hear a lot of her in this horoscope. She's going to touch a lot of planets because she's just moving so fast. The first aspect that it makes is on June 3rd when it sextiles the North Node. The North Node is in Aries, so it's asking all of us collectively to be more courageous and to do the scary things. And for you specifically, because Venus and the Sun are sextiling the North Node from your 5th house, there is something happening with your self-expression, with your hobbies, with the things that you use to have fun, to enjoy life, that are asking you to be courageous. I can really see this as a boundary being crossed that doesn't allow you anymore to have your own personal puzzling time. And as a result, you need to stand up for it. You need to set a boundary about it. And what's really beautiful is that just a day later, the Sun and Venus conjunction becomes exact. So that happens on June 4th. And I really see this as the ability to be courageous with almost like 99% guarantee that it will go well. Because you have the Sun and Venus in your fifth house, even if you do stand up and you do the scary things, you might say no, you might set a boundary, that the only sort of benefit that will come from it is even more time to be self-expressive, even more time to enjoy the things that you love. And your fifth house continues to be highlighted during this month, Aquarius. On June 6th, to be exact, there is a new moon in Gemini in your fifth house. One of the interesting things about this new moon is that the Sun and Venus are inching closer and closer to a square with Saturn. And even though the square is not exact during the new moon, it is very, very close. They become exact 2 days after the new moon. But because it's so close to the square, you will still feel this more restrictive Saturn energy. So with the new moon, you might feel like you want to start something new, you want to pick up a new hobby, you want to say yes more to all of the parties you're getting invited to. But Saturn is somehow not allowing you to do that fully. It's sort of making you do that a little bit slower than you would like to. It's really asking you to be patient with all of these beautiful plans that you have, that you want to put into motion. And one of the things that I always say about Saturn transits is to be patient and to not get discouraged. Oftentimes, Saturn can make it so that we can still get to our end goal, but we just might need to get in a different way. We might need to get there by taking a different path, for example. So as I said, the square will be exact on June 8th and June 9th. Venus will square Saturn on June 8th, and the Sun will square Saturn on June 9th. So you might continue to feel that restriction up until the 8th and the 9th. And what is really interesting about June 8th is that on that day, Mars will also enter the sign of Taurus. And Mars entering the sign of Taurus means that we also have a little bit more of a calm energy. Our actions are a little bit slower. All of a sudden, we're thinking about, how can I make time to rest? How can I be ambitious with my rest? How can I ensure that I have more silence in my life as well? So combined with the restrictive energy of Saturn and Mars entering Taurus, honestly, during these couple of days, just let yourself relax, let yourself rest. These are such important periods that I think in today's society, we tend to look down upon. When Mars enters the sign of Taurus, right away it squares Pluto. The square is happening on June 11th, and honestly, it's going to be one of the most intense days of the month of June. Both Mars and Pluto are quite intense planets, and they're also in an intense conversation with each other, which is a square. And what the Mars square Pluto aspect might bring up for you specifically, Aquarius, is some sort of happenings with your home or with your family are triggering the fears that you have around showing up as a leader, showing up as your own unique individual. You know, one of the ways that this could manifest is somebody in your family says something that triggers you. As we all know, a lot of the times our family says things that trigger us. That gets you really thinking about who you are as an individual, how perhaps you're quite different from your own family, how you feel like you don't fit in, for example. But it could be something else as well. It could manifest in the sense that something happens within your home. You know, maybe you have a burst pipe or something like that, that requires for you to to step into this authoritative mode, to step into this mode of action, of calling people up, of getting things done. And certain fears come up because of that. You find out that you have certain fears around speaking up, or making phone calls, being seen, putting yourself out there. So be very, very gentle with yourself during this transit, especially for you Aquarius. It's happening in your angular houses, so it can feel quite intense. But we've talked about the intense planets, so now let's go back to Venus and the Sun. On June 16th, Venus squares Neptune. So Venus has traveled so far into Gemini that it's now at the final degree of Gemini, and as a consequence, squares Neptune. It's ready to enter Cancer, but not quite yet. First, it needs to have a conversation with Neptune. And don't forget, the Sun is right on the tail of Venus, so just a couple of days later, on June 20th, the Sun also squares Neptune before it enters Cancer. Because both of the Sun and Venus are squaring Neptune in your second house, there might be a certain rose-colored view that you have in regards to your finances, in regards to your self-confidence and your self-love. You might have gone around thinking, what do you mean I don't have self-love? Like, definitely, I love myself. I love who I am. I have self-confidence in myself. But something happens around these days that makes you realize, wait a second, actually, there is still really quite a bit of work for me to be done there. There's still parts of myself that I don't love and I don't accept. Or again, this could happen more surrounding your finances. Perhaps there's a situation that makes you realize, actually, you don't have as well of a hold on your finances as you think you do, and you should start being a little bit more careful and improve in that area of your life. So after they square Neptune, Venus and the Sun enter Cancer. Venus enters Cancer on June 17th. And the Sun enters Cancer on June 21st. And because they enter your 6th house, you might find towards the second half of the month that your energy shifts more towards your routine and your health, rather than the first half of the month when you were more focused on pleasure and fun and self-expression. And honestly, we kick off Cancer season quite well, right away with a bang. On the second day of Cancer season, we have a full moon. So June 22nd, with full moon in Capricorn. The moon is in your 12th house and the Sun is in your 6th house. And full moons can reveal a piece of information, can bring clarity around something that we were not so clear about before. And for you specifically, it might be that your spiritual practice, your moments that you spend alone, reveal to you something that needs to be adjusted with your routine, something that needs to be adjusted with your health. Honestly, one of the ways that this could manifest is you're sitting in meditation and suddenly you get an inspiration or an idea that, you should start taking vitamin D. And you implement that and you see a good result in your health. So that's just one example. Keep in mind, this could, of course, manifest in many different ways. All right, let's wrap up all of the Venus transits. We have 2 more to go. On June 26th, Venus is in a conversation with the North Node again. This time, Venus squares the North Node and the South Node. So just like earlier in the month when Venus was sextiling the North Node, you were being asked to be courageous. It's the same theme happening again. But this time, the origin of the request or the trigger is coming from a different place. Because now Venus is squaring the nodes from your 6th house, there is something from your routine, something maybe perhaps from your health that triggers you, that asks you to be courageous. This is a square aspect, so it's something that cannot be ignored. You really have to act on it. So it could really be this idea that you receive a piece of information around your health that scares you, but that you need to be courageous and you need to act in a way that you stand up for yourself. You set boundaries. You look out for yourself. It could be that maybe somebody infringes on your day-to-day routine. All of a sudden, you have to work overtime and you can't make it to the gym anymore. So this might be a moment where you really have to set that boundary for yourself and stand up and say no. This is a really important aspect of my routine. The final Venus aspect during the month of June is on June 28th, when Venus sextiles Mars. Venus, again, is in your 6th house and Mars is in your 4th house. So all of the attention that you've been giving to your routine, you've been making sure to be diligent with it, you've been courageous and standing up when others have overstepped their boundary, is making it much easier for you to make meaningful connections with your family. It's this idea that, when we take care of ourselves first, we're able to show up in a much more beautiful and genuine way with those we love. It could be that all of a sudden you have more energy because you've been working out regularly. You have more energy to decorate your home, to hang out with your family as well. And finally, we close off the month with Saturn going retrograde. I know we saved the big one for last. So on June 29th, Saturn goes retrograde, and it will stay retrograde until November. So you have quite a few months to reflect, for you specifically to reflect on your financial situation, to reflect on all of the ways that you've had to show up and take care of yourself independently of others, all of the ways that you've had to work on your self-confidence and your self-love for yourself. You have to take a look at whether you've been patient, whether you've been putting in the hard work, whether you've been mature in making adult decisions. And if you haven't, take notes as to what you would like to do differently. Because when Saturn goes direct, you sort of get a second chance to do so. So overall, Aquarius, I hope you're excited for the month of June. You have quite a few things happening in your house of pleasure and fun and self-expression. And you also have quite a few things happening in your house of routine and health. So honestly, it's a really nice balance for you, I think. You start off the month more fun and you ended up more focused on discipline and work. Let me know down in the comments if you're excited for Saturn to go retrograde. Maybe not. Maybe you're not looking forward to it. And before you go, I also wanted to let you know that I'm doing a giveaway. When we reach 1,000 subscribers on this channel, I'm giving away one free reading to one of you. So if you want to make sure you enter the giveaway, then make sure you subscribe. I hope to see you again soon.